Let's talk about Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. According to Robert Kiyosaki, there's 4 ways to make income in the United States. You're either an employee, a self-employed, a business owner, or an investor. And what an employee does is he works for somebody else and he sells his time for a certain amount of money per hour. A self-employed actually goes out and starts his own business, and many people say that if an employee is working as an employee, he's struggling and he wants to get ahead in life, so he starts his own business. But many times you're jumping from the frying pan right into the fire, because instead of having one boss, a self-employed has thousands of bosses, or however many customers you have. And both the employee and self-employed are still selling time for money, because self-employed you might be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. And so you may be making a little more per hour, but you're still selling your time for money. And the problem with selling time for money is you're still trapped, because no matter how much you make per hour, you have to be there in order to make your money. In fact, Robert Kiyosaki said, never invest in a business where the system goes home at night. And both employees and self-employed, they're part of the system, so they can't develop systems. Robert Kiyosaki says that 95% of Americans will be either an employee or self-employed, and they control 5% of the wealth in this country, where the business owner and the investor are 5% of the people, and they control 95% of the wealth. Now, I don't know about you, but when I looked at that, I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to get in a line, one line has 19 people that fight for 1 out of every 20 of the dollars, and the other line has 1 person that gets to keep 19 of the $20, I figured I'd go ahead and get in that second line with only 1 other person. And so when I started looking at it, I said, well, what is the difference between an employee and self-employed and the business owners and investors? Because I like that other line, but there must be something going on that makes them different. And there is. It's their thinking. A business owner develops people and develops systems to create passive income. In other words, there's a system doing the work so they don't have to. If you look at McDonald's, for example, Ray Kroc literally doesn't have to be there to serve you the hamburger in order to make wealth, because he's created a system to where you probably bought thousands of hamburgers during your life but never had Ray Kroc or any of the Kroc family serve you that hamburger. In other words, there's a system that will do the work for him. The same thing with an investor. An investor has money making him money. Albert Einstein said that the interest, compound interest, is the 8th wonder of the world. Well, what I wanted to do and what I started studying was, how do we help people move from the employee and self-employed quadrants into the business owner and investor quadrant? And that is exactly what the team does. The team is a system that is utilized to create passive income. Our goal is to teach you a step-by-step process to where you don't have to be selling time for money the rest of your life. Now, certainly, when Ray Kroc built his McDonald's system, it took a lot of time and effort. Nothing here is something for nothing. You're going to work hard to create systems. But the key is, when the system's done, when you have that long-term vision, delayed gratification, and utilize the power of compounding, you do the work once and you get paid for it again and again and again and again. That's what the team system does, is it creates patterns that we can get predictable results time and time again. If you take a look at the employee, for example, there's a curve called the 45-year plan, where 95% of Americans are living that 45-year plan. If you plot their income over their age, you'll find that most people start their full-time job 21, 22 years old. Income goes up until they're 25 to 30, and then it levels off from 30 all the way to retirement at 65. Now, I don't know about you, but every year to get a cost of living raise and yet your responsibility is increasing didn't sound like that great of a plan to me. And yet 95% of Americans are living that 45-year plan. My goal was to create a system that could help people break out of the 45-year plan if they were willing to do the work. And certainly at 65, when you retire and you finally get your time back, you lose 1/2 to 2/3 of the income you already didn't like making. So I looked at that and said, who would have convinced me to do that 45-year plan? I realized it was my dad who told me to follow the 45-year plan. Since I was a young boy, he told me to get the good grades in high school so I could get to the right college, so I could get the good grades in college, so I could get the good job with secure benefits and live the American dream. And you know, when you look at it, you take a look at most people in life will spend their life, they have big dreams when they're 18 years old. But by the time they're 35, you ask that same person and their dreams have been crushed down to fit their income. And what I would argue is, let's do the opposite. Let's keep those big dreams and let's use our imagination. As Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Let's use our imagination to create better systems to create the wealth necessary to live our dreams. None of us are going to get our goals and dreams if we have big dreams, live in that 45-year plan. And again, I'm not knocking anybody that has a job. If they love what they do, fantastic. But I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to do more. And if you fit into that category, then the Monavie team is for you. I've looked at it from all the different wealth creation, all the different people that have created long-term wealth in their life, and they have created systems and developed people. We have talked about the system, and we'll talk about developing people, which is developing leadership, first your own and then into others, to create that long-term income necessary to create wealth.